July 2025, Alabama. What authorities thought would be a routine check on an abandoned property turned into the discovery of a living nightmare. Beneath the dirt lay an underground bunker, a suffocating maze of concrete and steel where children, some barely old enough to speak, were held captive. Once built as a storm shelter, it had become something far worse, the heart of a depraved trafficking ring that would shake America to its core. This is the story of that bunker, the evil that thrived inside it, and the brutal truth that refused to stay buried.
Of 7 people are now in custody in connection to a child trafficking case involving an underground bunker in Bibb County. Some of the suspects are the children's own parents, and authorities say more victims may still be out there. ABC 3340's Gracie Johnson has more details, and we want to warn you, you may find it disturbing.
The investigation began months earlier, in February 2025. When whispers of abuse began seeping through the cracks of small-town Alabama like smoke from an unseen fire. The tips were vague at first, children screaming at night, strange visitors coming and going, the sound of metal doors clanging shut. Few could have imagined the hell that waited beneath the earth. When deputies descended on a remote property in Bibb County, what they found would scar even the most hardened officers. 10 children, the youngest barely 2 years old, the oldest no more than 15, were discovered in a drugged stupor. Their small bodies bound to bunk beds, poles, and rusted chairs inside a damp underground storm shelter. The air was suffocating, heavy with the stench of mildew, fear, and something far worse. These were not children simply hidden away. They were prisoners of deliberate, calculated cruelty, subjected to torture so vile that many officers later admitted they'd never seen anything like it in their careers. These children had endured torment that defied imagination. Assistant District Attorney Brian Jones revealed that the victims were not just restrained, they were drugged into silence. Their small bodies sold like contraband for up to $1,000, per encounter to the kind of customers who preferred their evil hidden in the shadows. The bunker told its own story of cruelty. Investigators found shock collars, some rigged with crude wiring, designed to inflict pain on the children's most vulnerable parts, a level of sadistic control that Sheriff Jody Wade called the most horrific case he had seen in his 33 years on the force. Officers later described how even the walls seemed to carry the echoes of suffering. Deep gouges and scratches where tiny hands had clawed in desperation.
Known ties to a gang that's known their main source of income is child sex trafficking. And our 911 dispatchers, they do a tremendous job, and they do so much for us other than just answer the radio and tell us where to go. Right now, the children, the victims that we have identified, have been removed safely when this immediately was made aware, and they are in the Department of Human Resources in their custody, and they are safe and being cared for and speaking with counselors to help them get through this horrible thing that's happened to them.
7 suspects have been dragged into the light, among them, the unthinkable. The children's own blood. The accused include William Chase, McElroy, Dalton Terrell, Andres Velasquez Trejo, Timothy St. John, and 3 relatives, Rebecca Brewer, Sarah Louise Terrell, and Ricky Terrell. The revelation that family members had turned predator cut deepest of all. A betrayal that made even hardened investigators fall silent. The charges against them read like a litany of human depravity, rape, sodomy, kidnapping, human trafficking, and even bestiality. Prosecutors are seeking life sentences without the possibility of parole, a punishment that feels almost too merciful given the depth of their crimes. With some victims younger than 6, the courtroom will soon become the stage 4 horrors no child should have ever lived to tell. This case wasn't solved overnight. It was pried open, piece by piece, over long, grueling months. Investigators followed the faintest trails. Late-night community tips whispered over shaky phone calls. Scraps of digital evidence pulled from social media shadows, and undercover operations where officers stared into the faces of men who'd paid to keep monsters fed. Every clue felt like pulling a thread that led deeper into something far more organized and far more dangerous than anyone first imagined. Authorities now believe the bunker may have been just one node in a wider trafficking network, and that not all the guilty have been caught. The Department of Homeland Security is digging into possible gang ties, while detectives quietly warn that there may be more victims out there, children still missing, still silenced. The nightmare, it seems, is only beginning to unravel. Bibb County is a community gutted to its core. Neighbors speak in hushed voices, unable to reconcile the fact that such unspeakable evil had been festering just beyond their fences, hiding in plain sight while children screamed beneath the earth. For many, the horror isn't just the crimes themselves, but the realization that they never saw it coming. Sheriff Jody Wade, his voice edged with both fury and exhaustion, has vowed that every child suffering will be avenged. "We will not rest," he declared to reporters, his hands gripping the podium as though he might crush it. Meanwhile, the Alabama Department of Human Resources has taken the survivors into care, surrounding them with trauma counselors and specialists. Yet, even with medical help and therapy, scars this deep won't fade easily. The community now waits restless, angry, and grieving for justice to come. All 7 suspects now stand charged. Their arraignments set for August 2025, a date already etched into the minds of the community like a scar. Under Alabama law, any sex crime against children younger than 6 carries a mandatory sentence of life without parole, and prosecutors have made their intentions clear. They will seek the harshest penalties the law allows. For the accused, there will be no mercy. For the victims, justice, however long it takes, is coming with a vengeance. This case isn't about a few monsters, it's about the blueprint they were built from. History is a graveyard of lies, where white supremacy hides its crimes behind mirrors and smoke. It screams predator at black men, while the real predator's men, with pale hands and iron fists, built entire empires on broken bodies, from the auction blocks of slavery to the cold, silent networks of child trafficking. Even now, the myth of the super predator survives like a parasite, feeding on fear. But when we tear back the layers, we find the same architects, those who have spent centuries demonizing black communities, still orchestrating horrors from the shadows, smiling through blood-stained teeth. Justice isn't just about caging these 7 suspects. Justice means tearing apart the myths, dismantling the systems that kept their crimes alive. Protecting children demands more than platitudes, it demands that we speak the truth, even when that truth burns. These cases aren't anomalies, they are root-twisted, blackened roots of an old tree fed by centuries of exploitation. If we don't cut through the lies, if we don't face how the narrative of dangerous black men was crafted as a smokescreen for white violence, we'll let the cycle repeat. Awareness is a weapon. Protecting children means shattering the myths, and dismantling these myths means confronting the darkness face to face. Thank you for watching. If this story unsettled you, let it and share it. Awareness is the weapon predators fear most, because silence is the soil where their evil grows.